Today we're going to discuss Marketing Cloud ID or MCID. Slowly starting to be called Experience Cloud ID, which would make it ECID. We're going to try to make something fun out of an ID. I've made a list here, and the list is all of the things that we're going to cover in this video. What this video is intended to be is really just an intro. So what is MCID? It's just an ID. It's the most basic building block of having a unified profile. Marketing Cloud ID is a single ID for all the Adobe products. That's it. It facilitates a good deal of things. It facilitates the ability to share audiences and really foundationally share data across the Experience Cloud platform. It changes if you are either a legacy target user or a legacy analytics user. It really changes how IDs are used, how they're leveraged, and even how it's set. And so there's going to be some nuances. It's not a terribly complex issue, but people feel it's complex. But the devil's in the detail. That's really the best way to think about it. And so why does it matter? Oh, wait. Got to check. For me, like a list, like this is just a bunch of words until I put these boxes here, and when I put the boxes here, it becomes a list. And the boxes let me check off when I've done something. Silly, I know it's silly, but whatever. You know, I go back to the Omniture days, so I can remember when our Site Catalyst existed, and it was really the only product. And if you think about it, the analytics was an analytics platform, and it still is that. But it's grown into something a little bit more. It is, and its data collection really is the pipe of data into the Marketing Cloud. By having this pipe, you really need then a way to leverage that data more broadly than analysis. So you need to be able to use it for targeting, whether that's targeting through Target or offsite targeting through Audience Manager. It doesn't matter, you need a common ID among those products. Checkbox. So how can I see it? Well, yeah, interesting you should ask. Last video I talked a little bit about how I like to use the JavaScript debugger inside of Chrome. So building off of that, I really do like to use it, and I would suggest using it. It doesn't simplify things in the same way that the Adobe debugger does or other debuggers, but it's simple enough. If we go, so one tip, and I forget this a lot, but one tip is if you want to see the requests, so the analytics requests, the targets requests, what have you, if you want to see them on a page, you need to open the debugger, the Chrome debugger, before you navigate to that page, because it won't start recording until it's open, and that's because I think it has something to do with slowing the site down or something like that. But I commonly forget to do this, so I'll go to a page, I'll open up the debugger or the developer tools, and then I'll remember, oh, I got to reload the page. So in this case, I'm remembering, probably because I have a list. So I go to developer tools, and I'm just going to go to Adobe Site. It's a good example to use. And Adobe Site is a site where if you're logged in or not logged in, you're going to get a different experience. Last time I think I mentioned that you can easily filter out requests by putting in into this little search bar /B/SS. I'd recommend that. It doesn't remove everything, but it does remove quite a bit. And if we scroll, let's see, here we go. Here is the analytics request. So the analytics request, as it appears in these developer tools, is always going to begin with an S, and then it's going to be a bunch of numbers. And that's really a way of time stamping it's a way of not making sure the browser doesn't cache the request. And this number is effectively a timestamp of some sort. Now let's scroll down. So the first thing you have is just the request. And then you have header information, so you'll see a lot of stuff here, all of which will be different. But if you go down to the section that says query string parameters, that's what you want to look for. And in the query string parameters, you'll see an MID. The MID is the Marketing Cloud ID request. Now, you don't have to look at the analytics request, and I'll show you a target in just a minute. Analytics is where I start because I'm pretty sure analytics is going to be on every page. There's a rare instance where it's not on a page, but for the most part, it's there. Target's not necessarily always there. So if you use analytics, you're able to probably more easily identify if it's there. But let's look at target. So into the search box, you can type target, or you can type mbox, and you will see a number of different requests. Again, target may not be on the page, on the page that you're looking at. So don't worry if it's not there. You just have to find a page where there is target. We'll scroll down again to query string parameters, and you're going to see a request that says mbox mcgvid, and that is. And you should note I didn't do this, but you should note what your Marketing Cloud ID is on analytics and make sure it's the same on target. Like if you're in a debugging situation, that's the sort of stuff I do. Make sure that they're both the same. I see it. Check this off. So this is going to involve another tip. And it's using... So the way the Marketing Cloud ID gets set is there's a call from a domain called Demdex. Demdex was the original name of Audience Manager before Adobe bought Audience Manager. So Adobe changed the name to Audience Manager from Demdex. And so that's going to be the server that's setting the MCID. And the MCID is set using the UUID. So the UUID is something that belongs to Audience Manager, and it's a unique ID of all the people that it's seen. So I have a unique UUID. It exists across all various different companies and so on and so forth. And then the MCID uses the UUID and this org ID. So in the analytics call, you can definitely see it. I thought it was in the target call, but maybe not. But you can definitely see MC org ID, and that is this ID right here. And actually it ties back to, if you log into your Marketing Cloud account, see that this organization ID right here is the same thing that's in the request. Those two things go together. So this Marketing Cloud account has an org ID. That org ID used with the UUID creates a unique Marketing Cloud ID for me, but that is unique for the company. The UUID is unique for me between lots of different companies. This is what I mean. The devil's in the detail. It's not terribly hard. So the trick here is the MCID is the request isn't going to be made every call, because once it gets set, you don't need to reset it. And so if it's there, there's not going to be a call to set it, obviously. So the trick that I use is I use incognito window. So you could do this by deleting your cookies, but I don't like deleting my cookies because there's a reason that there's cookies, and I say save a session and so on and so forth, because I want there to be a certain experience that's consistent. So I really don't want to delete my cookies. I don't like that idea. But if you use incognito window, you are emulating a scenario where your cookies have been deleted. So like I mentioned, before you load the page, open up the developer tools, And then let's just type in adobe.com. And when we filter, so this should be high on the page, so we don't need to necessarily wait for everything to load. If we type in a filter of Demdex, I'm going to scroll this up here. You should see a few different requests. So let's see. Yeah, here we go. So you're going to see a couple different 302 requests. That's just because there's redirects happening. But fundamentally, the first 200 requests is going to be the setting of the ID. And the interesting thing about Audience Manager or Demdex requests is that it's actually returning a JSON. It's a little bit different than what Analytics, if you're used to that, does. So it's returning some type of data, and that data is going to be, among other things, the Marketing Cloud ID. If I'm in a debugging scenario, this would be the last step I'd go to, is just kind of make sure that this is getting set. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard. We'll talk more in the videos, like what do you want to be thinking about, because there's some other things that you want to be thinking about as a part of this deployment. But for the most part, this is something very doable for most companies, and the devil's in the detail. Just pay attention to the details, have a real process, have a checklist, and you should be successful.